And we are the Non-Prophets. And we are the Non-Prophets.
Yes, we
Today, without Dennis Lubay, surviving somehow. I'm Jamie Boone. To my immediate left is Kevin Stein. And to his immediate left is V. La Bianca. Welcome, V.
Yes, welcome,
Thank
welcome.
you.
We wish Dennis could be here with us today, but he has barricaded himself in a basement with only 2 shotgun shells left to fight off the rest of the zombie horde. So hopefully he'll be able to join us next time.
Okay. You have a more direct line to him than I do.
Yep, I'm a psychic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting show. We are without our anchor, Dennis.
Oh, I think you're our anchor.
Technically, I'm going to have to be today. I am, of course, Kevin Millstone Stein. You didn't watch the last episode. That joke wasn't for you. And V, this is your first time on the show.
Yes, it is.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you, guys.
Do you want to kind of talk about yourself a little bit, or?
Who are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are you?
That is
Why
a
are you
good
here?
question. All of
God.
these questions I don't have answers for. I'm brand new to the ACA. I just moved to Austin. And I've been dabbling around a little bit. I've been on secular sexuality a couple of times and excited to continue that. And yeah, I'm just here and ready to dive in.
All right. Yeah.
Oh, and my Twitter and website are in the lower third. So if you wanted to check those out, I create content on a semi-regular basis.
Very cool. And you've been on secular sexuality twice now?
Twice now, yes.
Yeah.
Last 2 weeks.
Yeah. How you liking that?
Oh, I love it. It's amazing. We get to talk to some really, really cool people. Shout out to everyone who's been on so far, and to the people that I am currently petitioning on social media. We'd love to have you too.
Right on.
Cool.
Jamie, how you been?
I have been pretty good.
Yeah?
I am still no longer president and still newly queen. And I think I'm really liking it. I'm getting back, I can have like a regular day job now, time-wise.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that's what you were wearing last time, but then again, I always look like I'm wearing the same thing that I was last time, so I really can't talk. I've got like 3 or 4 outfits, and that's about it.
I'll pull back the curtain a little bit. I do have multiple of these shirts.
Sure
so
you do.
I do. I do. I also have at least one that says King, so
Okay.
watch out. I'll be everything.
Very good. Yeah. No, it's good to be back. I guess, do we want to go
How
ahead?
are you doing? No one's here to ask you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. It's I'm glad to be back. I've been all anxious today. Just show nerves. But that's to be expected. If you know me, I'm always like this.
Well, you always got to work with those show nerds. They know what they're doing.
Did I say nerves or
No,
nerves?
I'm
okay.
Being ridiculous. It's fine. No.
In any case,
I'm just observing here.
yeah,
This
you
is
guys
fun,
wanna-
guy.
It's like a sociologist in a foreign land.
Yeah.
Making notes quietly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do we want to just go ahead and jump right in?
Why don't we?
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get our first article out of the way. This is actually an update. I do believe it was episode before last. We spoke about Senate Bill 360 out of California, and it was about ensuring that clergy within the Catholic Church and also employees would not be exempt from keeping secrets in terms of, like, if another clergy member confided to them within the confessional, the so-called sacred confessional, that they had abused a child, they still get to keep that a secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The magic box, Kevin.
Right.
You can't.
Yeah. Well, the magic
mean-
extends only within the confines of the confessional.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be surprised to hear if there weren't regulations of like which types of wood it can be made out of. These are the types of wood that can contain the Catholic magic.
Yeah, because,
Are you-
like Only hardwood can keep
Well,
the magic in.
It's a hard job containing Jesus, but we're hard at it. All right.
There are a lot of jokes in there somewhere, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, we haven't even. Yeah, okay. Give us the actual news.
Okay, so I've got an update on that. It is essentially dead on arrival.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Well, no, that's actually a horrible thing.
Oh.
I guess I didn't really articulate that quite right. I'm just going to dive in. California bill to require clergy to report abuse.
It was the bill
Yeah.
to stop that from happening, and then we just cheered.
Yeah,
Just cheered for the Catholics.
a bill that require California religious leaders to report their co-workers' confessions of child abuse or neglect has been put on hold amid opposition from the Catholic Church.
Oh.
California law already requires clergy to report knowledge of child abuse and neglect, but they get to keep it a secret if they learn about it during a confessional. So they get that one little loophole.
What if they learn about it afterwards outside the confessional?
Well, then they within the bounds of the law, they're still, I guess, kind of obligated to go to the authorities. But then again, what are the odds of that happening?
Right, exactly. The only time someone's going to talk about that is in the magic box.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, on Tuesday, that would be July 9th, and I think it was the 5th that we talked about this last, if I recall correctly. It was announced that the Jerry Hill, the guy that Senator Jerry Hill that proposed this, announced that he was going to be putting the bill on hold because it did not have enough support to pass the Senate Assembly. But Hill said that the issue remains important to him and that he will continue his efforts to pass it. So that's good news at the very least.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it should kind of be a no-brainer that if there's people that are going to commit crimes, it should be legal, and in these cases required for that to be reported.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the article last time, a Catholic official said, hey, we're going to try and basically keep this as low-key as possible, and if we're forced to, then we're going to break out the big guns and we're going to put some, throw some money out there and make sure that we kill this. But for the moment, we're going to try and see how it goes.
So the fact that it's being reported on at all is at least not in their plan. Like we got that far at least.
Yeah, well,
people
I
are
mean,
aware that this is something that they're fighting against.
Yeah, when I was digging around, it was almost exclusively Catholic news websites that were talking about it. Almost nobody but Catholic sites had anything to say about it or knew that it was going on at all.
I'm surprised this is happening in California, is it?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I would expect this maybe in Ohio.
But there are religious people everywhere.
That is true. I just
True.
have California in my head as kind of this bastion of like slightly more progress than the rest of the country.
False.
Well, I mean,
I'd imagine.
they are the only state so far that has proposed something like this.
Okay. Well, yay, California?
It's dead, again, it's dead on arrival because it doesn't have enough support, but they're the first people to be proposing this at all. So the Catholic Conference of California had opposed the bill. The organization gave written comments to the legislator saying the church, quote, agrees with the general principle that all youth should be protected from sexual abuse. Yeah, okay, sure you do.
I love when you have to put qualifiers. We agree with the general principle
Generally,
that
this
rape
is
is bad.
Have you heard that old adage that actions speak louder than words? Because
I have.
yeah,
Yes.
I don't think they have, I guess.
Nope.
One quote
Only the word of God speaks loudly.
One quote that really pissed me off here was, but the conference added that everyone, quote, has the right to confess sins anonymously and confidentially, saying the bill would deny the right to thousands of churches' employees, quote, based solely on their particular religious and employment status. So, no.
Wait, what?
No.
Wait.
I'll read it again.
Yeah, run that by me. Was
The bill would deny the right to thousands of churches' employees based solely on their particular religious and employment status.
So
Nope. Everyone has to report rape.
they're assuming that only Catholics would then have to confess publicly, assuming that every other religion and employment status are also raping kids.
Yeah, see, exactly. Here's the problem, is they're pretending that this bill is singling them out because of because they're Catholics. No, you've got it backwards. Catholics have been enjoying an exemption from the law for decades and decades, and this law is trying, it's fucking toothless because there's no way to enforce it, for one. It is just saying, hey, if you learn about your coworker raping some kids and it happens in a confessional booth, you still have to tell the authorities. There's no way to enforce that. It is completely toothless, and it's a feel-good bill, and yet they still vociferously opposed it.
Yeah.
Again, they have it completely backwards.
Well, they do, and I think the problem is it's the to a person who's been afforded a special privilege, equality feels like oppression.
Right.
This is that exactly. No, it's like, in a way, you are kind of being singled out because you were the ones that were singled out for a special privilege in the first place. So yes, we are talking about this special privilege that only you have, and that's why you feel like it's all about you and that you don't want to give up something you have. But actually, we're just asking for equality in terms of reporting crimes, in this case, specifically the rape of children.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be that guy, but is it really that hard for you to agree to tell people when someone's raped a child? Like,
you would think that it wouldn't be all that difficult.
yeah.
Yeah. I just like that their arguments basically, but everyone else might be doing it and wouldn't have to say.
Right?
Basically every kids argument for everything.
Yeah.
Billy did it.
Yeah. But they're over there. Let me go.
Yeah, that in particular really kind of ticked me off because it's that kind of, it seems logical on the surface as long as you don't really analyze it at all. And that kind of thing, it resonates with most people because most people, they don't have a good understanding of logic, and I'm not saying that I do, but they also don't necessarily want to think about these things in depth, even remotely.
Yeah. And they don't necessarily have an understanding that they might not have an understanding of logic.
Yeah,
There's no self-doubt.
Yeah, they just see, okay, they're proposing this bill and it only affects Catholic churches. It only affects priests and people who are employed by the Catholic Church. Therefore, they're singling out the Catholic Church and they're specifically trying to oppress us. Okay, we're just trying to remedy something that you have had an exemption from.
I can't tell whether it would be better or worse if they were to then champion no one should have to report any crime ever bill, because then at least they would understand that everyone should be treated equally. They would just think that everyone should get away with.
Yeah, I mean,
which I guess would be worse.
There are a lot of talk, but when the rubber really hits the road, they don't want to make any substantive changes whatsoever.
No.
Well, I imagine it's already terribly difficult to get people to, apply to be an employee of the Catholic Church. Like, unless you are pulling from your own congregation, it's probably not a line out the door. So probably one of their perks is like, hey, we have all of these exemptions. If you start changing that, more people are going to be like, fuck that, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. There's that, and then it's, so it would, you'd probably be Catholic if you were working for the church directly, but even the oh, well, I'm lapsed Catholic, or,
right,
oh, of course I go with my grandma who's, praying to St. Anthony because she has lost her marbles and can't find them, or whatever. Ex-Catholics, that joke's for you. But that person who's now been through the first huge round of, hey, look, there's a tremendous amount of child rape. And then the second round again of, oh, no, look, it happened again because your church did nothing to prevent it. The second round of, wait, we assumed that this would be fixed, has probably annihilated all of the, I'm a casual Catholic, and so I'll work here, right? Like, in terms of people
I've talked to a lot of Catholics who are not, the most devout, and they're all having lots of questions right now, and they're the right questions. They're the questions you should be having right now.
Yeah.
You should answer them with your...
Leave.
No?
Get out.
So I've got one more quote here that, again, really pissed me off. It is in its content, in comments to state lawmakers to the California Catholic Conference, said that the church has not done all it could in the past to, quote, bring abusers to face justice. No shit. But added, quote, there is no evidence that we are aware of to suggest that there has been an issue with clergy failing to make mandatory child abuse reports as a result of information received during the sacrament of confession. Well, no shit, because it's confidential.
Also, reports to whom? Like, reports
Exactly.
to your superior person who's going to shuffle you around to the next town? Like, that's technically a report, but it's not going to do anything.
We don't have access to information because all the information that we could possibly have access to is kept confidential.
Yep.
Of course you... Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course not, asshole.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they have this loophole put in place, and again, we talked about before, to attempt to try and be fair to them. They think that breaking the sacrament of the confessional is something that can condemn you to death. Doesn't matter, honestly.
Because God,
As opposed to child rape, which isn't as serious as breaking confessional.
I mean,
like laws like these, the progress, say if adherence to your religion requires you to engage in FGM, for instance, a law saying that's not allowed anymore because it's barbaric and it serves absolutely no purpose, that law is not
designed to oppress you.
Yeah, thank you. It's not designed to oppress you. You are not being oppressed. Just because it's
designed to protect people.
Yeah. I mean, religion, it's constantly being drugged, kicking and screaming into the modern age. And this is just another example of that.
Yeah. And the worst thing, I think, is that, sure, the specific rules of the confessional are not in biblical text, but they're in Vatican text, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
They're in, added Catholic stuff. But there's nothing in the Bible, as far as I'm aware of, that prohibits pedophilia or pederasts from going at it.
No.
None. Yeah.
I mean, if
it's someone else's child, then that's probably...
You have to marry them afterwards, but...
Well, it's if it's a woman and you're caught and you pay for the... Yeah. But
yeah, you gotta pay 50 schmeckles or something.
There's no statutory rape in the Bible.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's not a thing. So.
Yeah. So yeah, that is our update. It is unfortunately being set aside for now. Okay. So we'll see if this comes up again maybe next year, but for the rest of the year, it basically cannot be talked about again within the Senate as the rules are currently. So yeah, we're really hoping that would pass, and
not as much.
Not terribly surprised that it's being tabled. Yeah. But yeah.
Wait, did you say what?
It's being tabled.
Did it specify the? Did it specify the parliamentary mechanism by which it's being delayed?
No, it did not.
It just didn't have any support.
All right. It's being delayed.
It's being delayed because
in one way or another.
Because they very clearly do not have enough votes for it to pass.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, all right. I think my caffeine kicked in, and I'm just running through.
Go for it. Yeah.
I hope I'm not railroading anybody, but yeah.
No, I mean, it's hard to elaborate on how, like, rape is wrong, bad, don't do that, in case you were curious.
Brave stance.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm not afraid of losing likes and subscribers. I have this show. I haven't even consulted with my co-hosts here. This show is firmly anti-rape. Period. End of sentence. Thank you to the people here live applauding my brave efforts. No, anti-rape. Rape is bad. Telling people that bad things have occurred so that they can be addressed is good. A law that makes that happen, generally good. That law didn't pass. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of nuance in this story. Bad stuff.
I mean, just even flip it around. So imagine that all of religious folks' worst nightmares have come true, and atheists are both one of the largest organizations worldwide, and also are child abusers, like they like to assume. And then just flip that. So instead of the Catholic Church, say an atheist organization was fighting this bill. Do you know what the uproar would be for that? There would be
endless.
It would be endless. There would be picketing and riots everywhere of people rightly being upset about this. But because it's under the shield of, oh, well, it's Catholic, it's Christian, it's a religion, it slides right by.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of gets grandfathered in, basically.
Yep.
Like, this is old news. Of course, they've been defending this for as long as I've been alive, so...
Yeah.
Everything that's been around for as long as you've been alive is by default good, and everything that is introduced after you turn 30 is by default bad.
Yeah, I've heard that's the cutoff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard. I think it depends on how, as an older relative of mine has said, how hippy-dippy you are. So it's like if you're super hippy-dippy, it might be after 40, but we'll see.
Cutoff's a little later.
Cutoff's a little later. So like, you're okay with gay marriage, but I don't know about trans people. It's like, no. It's nothing to do with you. Back off. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so...
Yeah.
Go ahead and do you want to take our next story, V?
Jump in? Sure.
Yeah.
I found this to be super interesting. The Atheist Ireland is an Irish advocacy group, and they promote atheism and reason over superstition and supernaturalism, and try and make it so that the state doesn't support or finance or give any special treatment to religion. And this is over in Ireland, obviously. They've been fighting recently, this last year, for a change in the phrasing of the religion question in the 2021 Irish census to better represent the growing number of religious nuns in the country. So they're concerned about how it's going to be represented on paper if the question is phrased as it currently is. The old question, which is the one they were fighting against, is what is your religion? And that's a leading question.
Yeah.
Because it assumes that you have one and that it's the default. And even if you write in like, oh, I'm atheist, well, atheism isn't a religion, so it doesn't even really make sense. And in addition, the Central Statistics Office website says that the statistics used in the census are essential for planning educational provision, healthcare, employment, all of these things. And Atheist Ireland says that it's the practice of religion and not people's inner beliefs that's relevant to this. So the way that they would prefer it to be phrased is, do you practice a religion? Instead of, what religion are you? Because,
that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. And then followed by, if so, what religion do you practice? So very simple, yes or no, do you practice religion? Super neutral. Mm-hmm. And it would actually give a more accurate figure. So what they're basically asking for is 4 things. That the question be located neutrally, away from questions on ethnic or cultural background and language, which I thought was interesting because we always group those things, even, here. But to put it in just a completely different spot, to take it away from the identity bit and more just about what do you do? What is your, how do you spend your time? They also want the question shouldn't assume the answer, so that the person answering the question has a religion. What's your religion? Oh, well, obviously it's one of these. It should distinguish between religions and denominations, which I also thought was super interesting. So instead of having Christian, and then, you go down the list, Methodist, Lutheran, Episcopal, whatever.
That could get messy.
Right? No,
because there are so many different denominations.
And that's the final one, and I found this fascinating. So they did this study, and apparently if you use checkboxes and denominations, they bias results. And they figured this out in the 1990s, actually. So without a checkbox, the Irish census in 1991, am I right? Numbers.
You got very
guys.
small font over there.
I do have very small font. Got to keep it on one page, guys. Okay. So without a checkbox, Methodists gradually decreased from over 6,000 in 1961 to about 5,000 in 1971, and then even farther down in 81 and 91. Okay. So without the checkbox, people just, stopped identifying as Methodist on the census. When given the checkbox back in 2002, it almost doubled to over 10,000. And that's an increase of 99% compared to a national increase in population of 11%. So the fact that the checkbox even exists as an option
biases
the response by a lot. And so their argument is that, okay, well, just ask a yes or no question. Don't put those checkboxes because that also influences whoever is asking or answering the question. So that's been on the table for about a year now. And actually, just as of this month, on the 11th, the new question is not great. They did change it a little bit to what is your religion, if any? It's slightly better, kind of, sort of, but it also is a leading question and assumes that religion is the default. So they're not quite happy about it, but it has shifted at least a little bit.
There's that. It also changed the language so that it's not what religion are you, it's what is your religion.
Right, exactly.
Which is a step better, I would say. I mean, it's less like, how tall are you? And more, what is your height?
That's fair.
Because the second question, what is your height, doesn't make any sense because it's not a thing that you possess. Height is you. It's like...
Yeah, it's a...
In the same way you wouldn't say, what favorite food are you? It's what is your favorite food? Your favorite food isn't part of your identity. Your height is something you can't run away from.
Or, instead of maybe what is your political viewpoint or beliefs, it would be more like, how do you vote? It's the practical element of that and how it manifests in the world.
Yeah, generally it's like, what is your political affiliation? Are you a D? Or are you an R, or are you an I?
Politically, what are you is a very different question than, how do you tend to vote?
Right, exactly. That's their argument. And they're also concerned that it's going to mask the growth, the tracking of the religious nuns in Ireland. Because of the way that it biases things.
Do they even need this question at all? I feel like it's unnecessary just by itself. Like, you don't... I understand why Pew would be doing a poll on people's religiosity, but does the census really need to be asking that?
I feel like it's an interesting question for Ireland specifically, considering the amount of religious tension that there is currently there. And especially because they, to my understanding, still place a lot of emphasis on, we are Catholic as opposed to Northern Ireland, which is Protestant. For the most part, obviously not all of Ireland. But so I think that would be an interesting question to ask, not just here, but also there, because I feel like here it wouldn't make a lot of sense because we are so diverse in the kinds of viewpoints that we hold in the U.S. And I don't know if it's necessarily as as much of a non-issue.
Yeah. Well, I know that Ireland's been making some great strides in the last year or so.
They legalized
covered,
abortion, I believe.
They got rid of their blasphemy law about 6 months ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we covered that here.
Yeah, there's a big backlash to the influence and activities of the Catholic Church in Ireland, given the effect of the influence and activities of the Catholic Church in Ireland. Immensely. God, yeah, that and the Brexit is still an open question.
Right.
And there's that Northern Irish border, which is less than 50 years ago, we were having religious warfare.
Exactly.
Wow,
much less than 50
yeah.
years ago. As many as she's 20. That was, It's a recent history.
Yeah.
So it is. I would say it is a pertinent question, which is why the religious nuns in that area need that representation and they need to be counted.
I think it also sends a signal because even if there's popular sentiment for something like an uprising or a revolution, only a minority of even people with that sentiment do anything with it, right? Like it's 2% of the French population at the time participated in the French Revolution, 10% of the Iranian population in the Iranian Revolution, and that was the largest one by proportion ever. So if people know that, well, okay, we have these very strong views, but society as a whole is mostly nuns or, casuals or
Right.
or whatever that are not big fans of like, no, we're a Catholic nation and we'll shoot you for it. That can be helpful.
Right. And I think that's what they were getting at with the original request, whereas like you can be a Catholic or a Protestant or any religion and not practice it and have it not interfere with the way you vote or the way you interact with other people or where you want the money to go. Yeah. Whereas saying what religion do you practice, if any, that implies a level of action, that implies a level of involvement to the point that, maybe they would want to vote a certain way or want these funds to be allocated in a certain way.
Yeah.
I think I just flipped, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Just like 5 minutes ago, I was thinking they shouldn't have this they shouldn't be asking about your religious affiliation at all. Mm-hmm. But this is a stepping stone. We need to change the language of this so that we can stand and be counted and recognized as non-believers and recognize that we are a significant portion of the population. Mm-hmm. And going forward from there, then they can, after they've been counted and been shown to have, like, we have the numbers, we have some actual political power, then you can go in and take the next step and say, okay, asking about religion in a sense is probably not appropriate.
Exactly.
I think it's a good step.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
And with that, high five, V, you changed a mind right here live on the air. Shining example of open-mindedness right here at our center.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that.
You are welcome.
I was like, no, they shouldn't be asking that. That's not appropriate.
Yeah.
But
No, you need equity before you can get equality.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the same deal.
That's going to be a meme of you. I'm not sure whether you need equity before you can get equality.
yeah,
Let me
that's
say it
good.
into the camera. You
Yeah.
need equity before you get equality.
There we go.
Boom.
Well, thank you for that. That was very good.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing to follow the last couple of days.
Yeah, I like getting stuff from outside the states. Because there's plenty of atheist shows that cover news, and I try to not go with the same pool as everybody else.
The English language ones tend to be covering the United States.
Yeah.
It's a whole world out there, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Although it's almost like the English-speaking country with the most religious shit to talk about.
Yeah, we have a lot of really legitimate shit to be pissed off about.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah, although I'm looking at you, Australia. You might not think this. Look at your schools. All right. I didn't mean to throw that off.
No, that was great. So, what have you got for us, Jamie?
what have I got for you? So it is more a conversation starter. Oh, did you want to summon something with your voice?
Do you have some shit internet apologists say?
I do, my lord. All right.
Okay.
So
We need to use that more, honestly.
yeah, we should use it all the time. So a few days ago, earlier this week, a group of 24 men who claim to be transporting cattle to an animal fair and this story is out of India, so I'm going to go ahead and apologize right now for the pronunciation of literally every word I'm about to speak. Okay, so in Mahashandra, where 24 men transporting transporting cattle to an animal fair in Mahashandra, I pronounced it differently within less than 10 seconds, were thrashed and forced to chant a religious chant by a gang of, cow vigilantes yesterday in Kahwa district in Madhya Pradesh. There's a disturbing video of it online through the Atheist Republic. It was filmed with a mobile phone, but they were transporting cattle. They got jumped, as it were, tied together and forced to chant religious chants that translate roughly to victory to Mother Cow. And then, the vigilantes allege that they were transporting them for slaughter. And the thing that makes this, for me, shit internet apologists say, is that the police are probing allegations of cruelty, which
Phrasing.
but no action has been taken against the vigilantes.
Okay. I'm sorry. Are these Hindus or?
Yes, they
I
would
would
be
imagine,
Hindu.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
You don't hear about a lot of violence perpetrated by Hindus.
There was a bit earlier. They opened temples to women for the first time.
we covered that.
Yeah, we covered that.
And there was the lawyer saying, just wait, we're going to appeal it. Can you just wait to do this until we appeal it and get it overturned? Yeah, well, it wasn't to all women. It was women of menstruating age. So it was women between the ages of 10 and 50.
Yeah.
All those.
I don't know how I feel about being classified by.
Well,
but are you of menstruating age? I should ask that when they card you.
Yeah, how are you going to check that? I mean, it's just going to be an arbitrary. We're going to make an assumption based on your age, but please don't check.
yeah.
Please.
I mean, potentially they have a bouncer at the door of the temple, but
Oh God.
no. So these are
no.
Yeah, so yes, they are Hindu was the answer to your question.
Okay.
And no sacred cow isn't actually an accurate description of their religion, but of their religious beliefs. But the reason that it's shit internet apologists say, and that I've heard this from multiple places, is that religion there is a huge part of what they do, right? Like, it hasn't always been, but there's this Hindu nationalist sentiment rising.
Right, yeah.
Modi, I believe, has returned with an increased majority, and all this. And so I'm not quite cynical enough to have snapped as a response of, oh, you don't hear that much about violence with Hindus. I was like, just wait, it's gonna get worse.
Not all that often.
Not all that.
To be fair.
You certainly don't hear about it all that often.
Yeah.
But there's that. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
They're probing, huh?
Yeah, they're
probing
Thank you for that.
allegations.
Yeah.
they're probing the cows or the allegation. Probing the cow allegations. I'm
Seriously, are we not
unfamiliar
saying
with.
phrase anymore?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm unfamiliar with the biology, but I think allegation is the clinical term. So.
Okay.
So there's that. Also, I just realized that I have these sunglasses on my head, and that we started recording, and that no one told me.
I assume
means-
that was intentional. It looks
Yeah.
so cool.
Well, now I have to put them back because V likes them. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the headband is an accessory, and the sunglasses.
You're
are an
channeling
accessory.
Christian camp counselor right now. It's a.
Oh, I set myself up to be blamed and shamed one way and the other. Well,
You got to be able to laugh at yourself.
I do every morning in the mirror.
So, okay, I think my original point was the Hindus are vegetarian, yes?
Depends on the Hindu.
Okay.
I mean, in general, vegetarianism is more popular in India than it is
Right.
in the United
Because
States.
I was going to throw out some probably misconceptions.
Cows
I'm
have
not,
a religious
Yeah.
significance, right? So there are problems in India, right?
Yeah.
Like the rape culture there is rampant. I don't know why I gestured at you. You're not from India, but the rape culture there is worse than here. And there's a person who I think for a time lived in India. I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but said like, well, they have enough police to protect cows because cows are given free rein. They can wander where they will, but they don't have enough police to protect the people.
So the opposite of a humanist.
Yes. I was going to say, I want to see how long I can keep it.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Yep.
They've got police officers protecting cows,
Well,
but
I mean, you
not people.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's one thing if a bus hits a tourist. Every New Yorker will understand that sentiment. But it's another thing if a bus hits a cow. Then, you got to do something about it.
Are you familiar at all with why the cow is sacred? Because I am not.
The cow has religious significance in a way that I'm unfamiliar with. No, not
Shit.
familiar.
Okay. Let us know. You feel free to email us.
Yes, email, comment.
Yeah, I
Tell us these
vaguely
things.
remember.
we can revisit this next episode.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I was going to say.
there's so many. There's a lot of history and nuance with a lot of these religions, especially a religion so old that.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where it's like, particularly from like the Western eye or like in the United States, there's this like, oh, there's no problem. Eastern thought, Eastern religion. Oh, it's a temple. Oh, it's worship. Oh, it's all about, inner peace and meditation. And it's like, no, there's bhakti.
Yeah,
right?
well,
like
we
it's
don't
just
have to.
about. Oh, we're all about Brahma, and who am I thinking of?
Shit.
Krishna.
Yeah,
There it
we don't
is.
have
Or
to
it's
worry about
Bhakti Krishna.
the encroaching Hindu theocracy here in the States. So
I mean, despite what some preachers will tell you, we don't have to worry about that.
no,
That is
no.
not the biggest concern.
I am making excuses for not knowing anything about the Hindu faith.
Well, it says here, I just looked it up super quick because Google is amazing and a magical friend.
V just came onto the show to shame me today, apparently. All right.
Hindus are vegetarians and they consider the cow to be a sacred symbol of life that should be protected and revered. In the Vedas, the oldest of the Hindu scriptures, the cow is associated with Aditi, the mother of all gods. So it's more of an association. So kind of, I guess, what would a equivalent be necessarily? So imagine like
Christianity?
Right, like imagine that like lambs or like sheep were protected, not because the sheep had any divine significance themselves, but because the Lamb of God. It's a symbol of...
In the same way
Kind of a
that
symbol.
there was, there was, I forget which state it was in, there was a teenager that was, that either posted a photograph or his friend posted a photograph of him posing in a lewd position with a statue of Jesus. Mm-hmm. Right? So no one would say, oh, well, that statue is a god.
Right, exactly.
Right? But, that's a sacred thing that you shouldn't mess with, right? Or, in the same way that Catholics will say they don't worship Mary, but they just revere images of whatever. So if you had, like, a rosary suspended in a jar of urine, and we're
You
saying
would be a
was,
witch, yes.
Well, no, I say that specifically because there was an image of that work of modern art available on the AP website, and it remained there despite objections until after Charlie Hebdo, when they refused to put Charlie Hebdo up, so they had to take everything down.
Right.
Okay.
Principles are cheap when you don't have to look down the barrel of a gun.
And that's your quote that they're going to source.
Yeah.
I don't think
Principles
I'm
are
going to
cheap
have quotes.
when you don't have to look down the barrel of a gun.
Okay, if I don't get a quote this episode,
We'll get you there.
yeah, I'll work on it for next episode probably. All right, well, yeah, thank you, Jamie. So they revere just the symbol of what the cow means, not the fact that the cow itself is meaningful. It is a symbol of something that is meaningful.
Therefore,
well, it also produces things for them that are meaningful.
Milk.
So milk, and they graze, and they provide. I'm not sure what else they would provide if they don't eat them, but they do have like provisional value as well.
I mean, so there's that, but I think it is, like it's a symbol, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about religion. So symbols are so important; they have to get in the way of the rest of life.
Exactly.
I feel like their priorities are not really aligned correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you're a Texan, but you weren't an Austinite, so Bevo doesn't have the same significance to you,
No,
presumably.
no.
But okay, well, then
I lived in College Station for a couple of years.
So you would be happy to barbecue Bevo, is what you're saying.
Also, I don't care. I don't care about school spirit at all.
You've never been religious in any sense, but
not really. Moving on.
I'm lost.
Oh, you're new to Austin.
I'm new to Austin and to Texas
So-
and to the South in general. So.
Okay.
Well, you're not in the South. You're in a state that is Southern.
Okay.
It's a football.
That was my OkCupid question for a very long time getting out here. I was like, is Texas the South or the West? I don't know. Tell me.
Texas is neither Southern Texas is neither the South nor the West. Texas is Texas.
Yeah.
That
It's
is the
an
answer I
actual
got.
quote.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
the
Texas is
answer I got.
Texas.
Well, welcome on down, little lady, is basically all I can say after that. And then-
Okay. Well,
God.
thank you, Jane.
sorry, just bringing a little bit of shame.
So, V, do you want to go next, or do you want to go after me?
I can jump on this real quick.
Have at it.
Yeah. For those of you who are following the Democratic 2020 presidential elections, which should be all of you, Andrew Yang came out with some statements about atheism, which I have thoughts about. Just for a clarifier, the ACA is a nonprofit and does not endorse any candidate.
Nor can we.
Nor can we.
Yeah.
And either way, I'm not voting for Yang. But
To say we can't, even though we might want
even
to
though
desperately.
maybe one day. So when asked about atheism and the rights of atheists, Yang said, "Some of my best friends are atheists."
That's always a good place to start.
That was my thought as well. It's like usually when you say some of my best friends are blank, you have one friend. That is that fill in the blank.
Oh my God.
So I'm not casting aspersions on his honesty, but I would like to meet Yang's many atheist best friends.
That'd be cool.
And he says some of them are also just some of the best people I know. And it's ridiculous that people would think that you are somehow less moral or less worthy of the full protection and enjoyment of all of our virtues as a society because of your religious beliefs. Then he goes on to say that atheism is just as sound as of a philosophy as someone who is brought up in an organized religion. Thoughts on that phrasing? Is atheism just as sound as religion, guys?
I mean,
I would say more so.
It is not less sound.
All right. See,
Brave.
Jamie needs to run for office for something. No, I thought it was an interesting quote because, first of all, kudos to Yang. There have been a couple of things that I've been keeping an eye on throughout this process. Cory Booker was asked about separation of church and state with regards to atheists, and in that moment he was like, yes, I support that. You would have my full protection.
I missed that question. I heard him say something about faith where it was, don't tell me what you believe, show me what you do, basically.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, I don't remember that, but that actually, I like that quote a lot.
Said it. It's not a quote. I said it more succinctly and better. than
Oh,
he
I
did
was like,
percent,
see, again.
Yeah.
Tell me when you sign up for
That's
office.
basically what he said, though.
Yeah, exactly. So he's kind of come out for it. Well, not for it, but not against it. Mayor Pete has acknowledged the existence of non-religious people, usually accompanied by a but after that. So I have feelings about that person too.
Oh, Petey. Okay.
But Yang seems to be the first person to actually explicitly talk about atheists and atheism and the morality or, perceptions thereof. So, that's amazing, and I want to see more of that. But also, for me, the issue is that he's not talking to atheists here. And it's still that stigma of, I will talk about atheists, but not to them. I'm still framing this with the assumption that the people who are listening to me are religious and need this understanding. Whereas we're making up, 20% of the population now, religious nuns?
Nuns are 25.
25%. That's a significant demographic. That's not even a minority anymore.
Yeah.
That's a valid portion of the...
We're right up there with evangelicals.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Actually, I have a
Portion-
2018 stat that says 20%.
I think it might
in
be
any
25 among millennials and 20% overall.
I thought it was.
In any case, it's...
I think
Yeah.
it's higher among millennials.
Sorry, I derailed us.
No, this
No,
is what the
that's fine.
numbers are.
I
Said
mean, we-
all of
we
us
need-
with our Google machines not using them.
We need numbers. No, but I think that's what irked me most was just the idea that regardless of how many non-religious people there are, no matter how many atheists seem to come out and make themselves visible and make themselves active in politics, people are still talking to the people who are religious. And that would be like going to an event and talking about any other minority group to the majority. Can you imagine a candidate going to an event and talking about the LGBTQ, GSRM people in the room to the straight people? It's that would be such a faux pas. And with this, it seems like the same deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it plays into this it would certainly be a faux pas that would be even more universal, that even people that would be like, well, of course you're not talking about, to say well, let me tell you about women.
Right.
Right. Well, so I fully respect, women's right, as should you, right? To a broad audience.
Right,
It's
exactly. Assuming that
as
either
opposed
women
to-
are not respecting themselves or you're not talking about women.
Yeah, if you said, as should everyone, I can say that to you, right?
Right.
But I wouldn't say, let me tell you about women.
Exactly.
They are people that are not in this conversation is what this language implies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm right here and I talk a lot, so I should basically be considered in every conversation.
Let me tell you about gay men, Jamie.
What about them? let me hear this.
Yeah, so that was my take on that. I was curious what you guys thought if once you heard it.
Well, so this might be a tiny bit off topic, but it does remind me of something that kind of pisses me off pretty regularly, and it is the framing of the kind of the default that religion is going to be your default, but also that it necessarily makes you a better person.
Right.
And I hear a lot of atheists will say when, say, a pastor or somebody else who is religious is being an asshole, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's so Christian of you." Like, stop it. There is no evidence that being Christian makes you any better than any other religious affiliation, nor any better than atheist.
Mm-hmm.
So you are playing into their hands when you do that.
Right.
Yeah.
You are playing into the assumption, the default assumption that they have set up for generations and generations that they are necessarily better and more moral than you, and when they are not the epitome of moral perfection, they're not being as Christian as they could be.
Right, exactly. That's a good point.
So stop doing it.
I think that's your quote, actually, for this. It's longer, but I think that's it.
So
Thank you.
atheists, please stop doing that.
Yeah.
There's absolutely zero evidence that they are better than any other faith or non-faith.
Also, it's so dangerous for other Christians, too. I wrote a blog post on my website, authorofconfusion.com, that is the most dangerous lie Christianity will tell you. And it is that you become a good person when you become a Christian. Because not only does that put an immense burden on you once you decide, oh, this is a life path I choose. Now, oh my God, I need to be perfect all the time. But also, it is used to keep people in abusive relationships. It's used to keep people in manipulative friendships. Oh, well, they're a Christian. They're a good person. They might be struggling right now, but you have to believe that God changed them and they are now good and they are now moral people. And so you should stick around.
Yeah, that's a big part of Mormonism, especially.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they put on the false front of we're such a happy and loving family, and if you become Mormon, you'll have a happy, wonderful life like us.
Yep. No coffee,
And-
though, so
yeah.
I don't know how accurate that is.
Cheeriness will be there instead. Yeah. I don't know. I'm caffeine free at the moment, so
Yeah.
How you doing over there? Are you okay?
I'm doing splendiferously.
You're duvin?
I'm duveting a lot of things.
This is what happens when you don't drink coffee, people.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I know. Really, no. This is what happens when you don't drink coffee. It's a goal. So
I would like to give Yang credit for bringing it up, but I don't know whether or not he brought it up unprompted or whether or not it was just the interviewer that
Right.
asked
I
him
think it
about
was a response to a question about the rights of atheists.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
So I don't
So-
know who the
You say I'd like to give him
interviewer
credit,
was.
but-
Yeah.
So I'll give him credit, and I'll point out that things are very different now than they were last cycle. I mean, there were lots of other things to talk about last presidential cycle,
Right.
but I don't really remember any specific question about. But what about atheists?
Oh no, it's a brand new question, which is exciting by itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And
need. I guess we
that
need
end,
to.
It's being asked by journalists
Fair.
Yes.
That's fair.
regularly.
I think we maybe need to start doing what Ireland's doing. Just
Right.
Yeah.
maybe. You know?
Yeah.
Stand up and be counted.
Stand up, be counted, keep voting. Things will not always be the way they are. The next generation is
Yeah,
coming.
I mean, evangelicals currently have an enormous amount of power, and yet they are a more minority within Christianity.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
They
all
just
they
have a lot of money.
Yeah, if they throw Judeo-Christian around, one, the only word in that people hear is Christian, and two, they sound like they're super inclusive and actually care about the Jewish people.
Which is amusing for anybody who
Well-
came from a Judeo-Christian background. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's not often the case at all.
It's the
Yeah.
you can be all about that Judeo-Christian life and also then talk about who killed your Lord and Savior.
Yeah, we support the Jewish people so far that we want to make sure that they bring
Bring
on the apocalypse.
Exactly. And then they will either convert to Christianity or be killed.
Yeah.
I feel like that should be your quote. We support the Jewish people so much. We want them all.
Up to the point that they bring on the apocalypse, and then they can burn in hell for all eternity.
Yeah. Well, just the what is it? The incomplete Jewish people, because it's a completed Jew
Yeah, I
is
know.
one that has
Oh,
found
so
Jesus.
That I think is the most offensive to me, that term.
Mm.
Of this particular discussion, like the idea of like being complete or incomplete, and just I don't know. I was talking to someone at the American Atheist Conference back in April, and she is an atheist Jew, and she said that she was like, it's a persecution envy. Like that's the term that she used. I was like, you're right. That's what that
It
is.
is.
It's
Oh.
persecution envy.
Yeah.
Because Christians are told that that's how they know that they're on the right track. Like, are you
Yeah.
being persecuted for Christ?
Blessed are you
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
persecuted. in my
Right,
name. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And if someone is more persecuted, what?
Well, that, I mean,
No one
that-
can be.
We just can't have that. We should support the nation.
But also, we need to be in control of everything and make all the rules.
Yeah, there's a lot of grasping at straws in
I mean,
terms of
in a-
so-called Christian persecution.
Yeah. In America, if you're in government, there's certainly the sentiment that you're therefore terrible as a person and sinful and corrupt and just there for money and whatever. So, almost. In terms of we're in control of everything but persecuted for it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So actually, I have something that segues pretty nicely with that.
Oh.
We didn't get to it last episode, so I had to table it. It is Democrats' new faith outreach director launches so-called listening sessions.
I do love that there's a faith outreach director.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so
Yeah.
politics is different. You have to reach out to all of your constituents, and many people identify with their faith. So that is the right thing for a political party that's attempting to represent the totality of its constituents to do. So
Sure.
good for you.
We're probably going to disagree up to a certain point.
Well, good for you, but that's not for me. Hashtag.
I might not have the most popular opinion about this, but
Well, let's.
we'll see.
If we argue on the air, then we win.
So-
I'll moderate.
Yeah, this was from June 25th.
Please.
Religious news service. Years after Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign was criticized for what some argue was lackluster outreach to faith groups, the Democratic Party has hired a new religious outreach director and launched a round of so-called listening sessions with faith leaders in the lead up to the 2020 election. Quote, "We take seriously the relationships we have with faith communities around this country," said Reverend Derek Harkins, who will oversee the faith outreach of the party, formerly a pastor in Washington, D.C., where he held a similar position in 2012. Faith, Harkins said, will be a priority going into 2020, but even more importantly, beyond 2020.
2020 and beyond.
I don't feel like this is a good use of their time or
Money?
or their efforts, to be honest. I really don't.
I am not sure about that, because for the them in this isn't the U.S. government. It's a political party attempting to reach and connect with people. And if there's one thing that we know here at the ACA, it's that there are people that believe fervently in the teachings and doctrines of their faith, church, religion, mosque, synagogue, temple. We need more English words for the difference between Hindus and Buddhists and etc. And so if you're attempting to identify, address, and represent the concerns of your constituents, a lot of them believe in stuff. So you want to reach out to them through that.
Right. I don't know. I think atheists are kind of in a bind right now in regards to this, because the religious voters can probably swing either way. Like me, I swing either way.
Nice.
No, but like they are a viable demographic right now for both the Republicans and the Democrats, and the Republicans have kind of monopolized the faith element. But
I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think that's why
Yeah.
that they're slightly off base here.
why is that? Because I feel like for this makes sense from a logical standpoint. Because who else are atheists and humanists going to vote for? Like, we're kind of stuck voting for the more progressive party.
For the non
Right.
hyper religious party.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So my thinking is, and this stat that I have here, just in relation to this, was according to a 2018 comparative congressional election study, 1 in 5 Americans, or 25%, are, quote, nothing in particular. Mm-hmm. So we've got, at the very least, 20% of Americans don't care about religion at all. And then we've got, that's not even including atheists. We've got atheists, which within this study that I was looking at, were like, 5 or 6%, and then Jewish population was around 5 or 6%. And multiple other faiths were in the low single digits as well.
Yeah.
So we've got a pretty significant portion of the population that is either non-Christian, is of a different faith, or doesn't care, or is atheist.
Right.
And then among Christians, I would say a minority of Christians are like fundamentalist Christian. It's the fundamentalist Christians that are the ones that actually genuinely care, okay, what is the faith of this candidate? This candidate has to be of my faith, and they have to put forward a religious agenda.
They have to be pro-life.
So,
In which case, they're already not in play.
exactly. So I would say that there is a minority of people who actually give a damn about whether or not a candidate is of their religion, is going to put forth their religious agenda, and everybody else doesn't necessarily care.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I definitely see your point. My thought is, what I'm seeing here is an overlook of millennials. And I'm thinking that probably this is, they know that this kind of thing is going to work for the average voter who is older, who is white, who is, probably Christian in some capacity. I think if they understood the voting power of the millennial bloc in general, this wouldn't even be a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just,
if they
I don't
didn't
know.
get out the vote millennials
Right.
app, it would be over. I actually, you make a good point. I'll agree with you on that. Is that your point is good?
Oh, thank you.
And on nothing else. No. And in which
Good
case,
TV.
I almost think that making the point that look at what is happening with the politicization of everything, including your religion. We're not doing that. We don't think that your religion is the same as a vote in a box, and that's not what we're about. And we also don't think that this representation of a minority of a minority of a specific sect of Christian faith represents all of you. So we're not going to play into that. Might also work, but that messaging is harder without.
Yeah, I mean, evangelicals are a minority group within Christians overall, but
Well, they're a minority group within Protestants.
Yeah, I can't even necessarily say that a majority of evangelicals care strongly. They probably do, but I can't say definitively that a majority of evangelicals care strongly about whether or not a candidate is also evangelical or is at least willing to push an evangelical agenda.
Is that what they are trying to do to indicate denomination? Or is it more just like a general, we love you because you are of faith?
Yeah, they're trying to they're trying to kind of flip the script because
There's this idea that there's already a party that hates God, so go there.
yeah, we've got
Yeah.
the
They were saying that shit to
party
Silverman
of
in the CPAC like 10 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah, so the Republican Party is basically married to Christianity, more specifically evangelicalism, but Christianity overall, they are basically, they are linked 100%, and you really can't rip them apart at this point. And I guess what they're trying to go for is, hey, the propaganda that you've heard for years and years and years that the Democratic Party hates religion isn't necessarily true. Okay, yeah, sure, that's fine, but making it a key component of the election cycle, I don't know if that's necessarily a good way to go.
Well,
It seems
I
like a
agree.
waste.
I think especially in terms of, I have the same exact gripe with Mayor Pete. Like every time he talks on the debate stage, it feels like he's dragged out a Gutenberg Bible to stand on, so he's like as tall as the other candidates are. That's the same political strategy of that is I'm going to try and appeal to this amorphous, possibly in play, but probably not group of Democratic voters who are also strongly of faith. In which case, like if they're still Democrats and still of faith and they haven't like swung over to the orange pastures yet, then it probably, he's not doing very much anymore. Like he doesn't need to preach to that choir.
He's not going to be able, and no Democratic candidate is going to be able to out-Christian the Republican candidate.
Exactly.
No one's going to be able to out-evangelical bait Trump in all this, right? And no one's
Yeah.
going to be able to out, like, pro-Israel whatever, right? And whomever the Democratic challenger to our current president is going to be saddled with, oh, but look at how anti-Semitic they are. It doesn't matter what they do or what they say or et cetera.
Right.
That strategy is waiting in the wings for a target. And the only reason it's waiting is there's too many potential targets right now and they can't fire that gun too many times.
Right.
With Buttigieg, it's almost like he is looking at whatever the next generation of Kennedy Democrats would be, because the would-be and the old-school Kennedy Democrats got swung over by things like Limbaugh and Fox News. But look, it's Mayor Pete, and he's this guy, and he's from a red town, and everybody loves him, even though it's like,
yeah, he's like a token Christian almost.
I wouldn't.
That's the way that it appears.
But he's
probably
his own
from
token, so it's okay.
But to me, honestly, it comes across like I don't know, daddy issues, because it's like you know that he's been hurt by religion before, and he's desperately trying to like claw his way back into the good graces of the Christian left. And I feel like for him, it's more of a personal platform than a smart political strategy.
Probably. I think you have hit at least that nail on the head. Like, it's not something that's optional for him, right? Like, it is about his faith.
Right. And it is a nice, issue to bring awareness to. And like, yes, there are, progressive people who also happen to be Christian.
And I think there's probably, I don't know how large it is, but there's some portion of the population, whether that percentage is in the single digits or not, I don't know, that if you point out, listen, right now, Christianity is being represented in American public life by the right wing. Is that you? If not, say so. Here's Pete.
Right. I just feel like it's such if you're going for tiny little blocks of the populace, there's a bigger block in the religious nuns that you could be targeting.
Oh,
no
yeah.
one is.
No doubt about
is.
it.
Yeah,
Someone that says, oh, cool, your reason for hating these people, my friends, you're taking shots at me like it's Patron because of your religion. I don't care what religion that happens to be. Your reasoning is invalid. Human rights are human rights.
Yeah. You're taking shots at me like it's Patron. That's your second quote for the night.
Yeah, well, I borrowed it from Katy Perry.
Okay.
Flashback
Never
to
mind
freshman homecoming dance.
Well, that's how much I know about pop culture.
Yeah. That's you need to calm down is recent. I'm hip.
So yeah, I think my thinking is focusing on this is a waste of energy, it's a waste of time, and it's a waste of money. If you get a question about a religion, opt for inclusivity and just, be honest. But I feel like making it a big part of your campaign, whoever ends up being the candidate, I don't think it's a good way to go.
Yeah. Maybe if there was equal amounts of attention being given to those without faith, then maybe we could have, okay, well, this is an interesting dialogue and you're reaching the broader spectrum. Yeah. But do people of faith really need more attention? Yeah,
you're not going to be able to out-faith the Christian right.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to, if you're a Christian right-winger and Christianity is so important to you that you really feel like it needs to be injected into politics, no one on the left is going to appeal to you. Right. Doesn't matter it doesn't matter if they fucking wave the Bible in your face every single time they're on television. It's not going to make any difference. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just seems like a waste to me.
Also, that we have the potential of a Bible shortage on our hands, so you should
I saw that.
Waving them around. Yeah.
I did hear about that.
Yeah. It's almost like trade wars have consequences. Who knew? Except literally every economist, but the fools that this. Yeah. Someone else take the mic.
So, okay, you reminded me, there was an article that I meant to print out. It was going to be like our soft open because it was really kind of funny. I'm just going to go off of memory because I don't have it in front of me. But I got it off of The Christian Broadcast Network, of course.
Of course you did. Every episode we have to have at least one Christian Broadcast Network.
Every episode gets one.
All right.
But it was about, there was a Christian book distributor that was their name. It was.
Wait, that was the name of the.
Yeah, the name of the company was Christian Book Distributor, or CBD for short.
Oh gosh.
And so the prevalence of the marijuana in the culture and CBD oil has created, I think, what do they call it? Like brand confusion is what they said.
Right.
So
yeah.
because of the prevalence of CBD type products, they have been forced to rebrand as Christian Book.
Christian book.
Yeah, just
Is
Christian
it-
Book.
Okay.
Always got it.
Look at me. I am a millennial. Okay. How marijuana culture caused top Christian bookseller to change its name.
What are we coming to?
I don't know. We're coming to a place where marijuana culture is a phrase that has been validated by the Christian Broadcast Network
God.
News. In hopes of avoiding brand confusion, the decades-old Christian book distributors, known by the acronym CBD, is changing its name. The faith-based company announced its decision in a press release issued last month, revealing it would be doing away with a 3-letter acronym as well as the word distributors because of the now common use of CBD to refer to cannabidiol.
Cannabidiol?
Cannabidiol.
I don't know.
Because it's not spelled like cannabis or cannabidiol.
Cannabidiol.
I don't know. I'm not a part of this marijuana culture, as it were.
It's been about a decade for me, so
Yeah. Every time I just see that one clip from Reefer Madness, the movie musical, where it's like marijuana, and it's
And there go the glasses.
yeah. Well, or do they? What's up? Faked out.
Wow.
All right.
I'm trying to think of an acronym for THC that they could use instead.
I feel like they went about
Totally
this the wrong
hot
way.
Christians.
They went about this the wrong way. They should have capitalized
Oh yeah.
They should
on
have.
this brand
Yeah.
confusion.
Breathe in his truth.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
Thank you. I will accept any marketing job that you give me that pays well sufficiently with benefits. I really will, actually, as long as you are willing to hire me, knowing that in my off time I dress like this.
You're going to go the dark side just for a little bit of cash, huh?
Hey, not for a little bit of cash.
A lot of bit of cash.
For let's start at 6 digits, and then we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I feel like, they really should have capitalized on the fact that pot is more popular than Jesus books.
Well,
All right, there's your quote.
pot is more popular than Jesus books. I might make that meme with a picture of you and just post it fucking everywhere.
I'm just saying.
I'd share the shit out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
They went the wrong way.
Yes.
They went the wrong way on
Yeah,
this
they
one.
did.
No, they did. Especially, I imagine that SEO would be a bitch to try and rank
break.
for that.
Yeah.
But, oh my gosh, yeah, or like CBD holy oil. Start
Oh, yes.
giving out like.
Oh,
Because it is in oil form, yeah.
Yeah, that actually. Yeah,
Man, bunch of fuck-ups.
I mean,
Now they're just Christian book. That doesn't...
Christian book.
They're Christian book.
Which
yeah.
one though? There are so
We
many.
will
Technically-
operate under the name of Christian book, which is one word.
One word.
Yeah.
That
that's
makes
what
it
I
a
said.
little less wonky, I think.
I think it makes it a little bit more wonky, but not quite.
Well,
wonky
at least
enough
they
to be
acknowledge
wonky
that
in
it
the-
couldn't possibly be 2 words. I don't know.
I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In any case, I totally meant to have that be the first thing that we started off with, but in any case.
They have no plans to change the way they do business and serve their customers.
Gee, they are not going to be selling you marijuana anytime soon.
Oh, me. What if you did? What if they? They could have sold it in like this one, a Bible printed on hemp paper.
Yeah.
Just like our Constitution and Declaration of Independence. What's up?
They suck at capitalism.
Yeah. You should be more greedy, Christians. God.
Don't say that.
Sorry. I meant the ones that aren't. You know what I meant. Not the prosperity preachers that are fleecing old ladies, literally fleecing sick old ladies for their money, promising them stuff that they can't.
All right. Let's round out the night with some viewer email as well as a little bit of, well, we don't necessarily have a question, but it is an update or a continuation of last episode's question.
Right, the philosophical.
Yeah.
Hello, viewers. If you email us, we will read that email.
Yes, we will. And what's that email again, Jamie?
Do you mean radio at? Or do you want nonprofits?
NonProphets at.
NonProphets at atheist-community.org.
Yes. And thank you. Thank you again to Chuck from Arizona. So last time he had his easy proof of determinism, and we spoke about that at length. He emailed us again, and he said, when I claimed that every proposition is true or false right now, I meant from a propositional logic point of view. I don't think that a proposition can have indeterminate truth value in propositional logic. The truth value can be unknown, but it has to be true or false. Of course, propositional logic is a human-invented concept. Its rules aren't binding on reality. An indeterminate future might be something it can't handle.
And
if you want to reread that,
in terms of a human invented proposition, it's a set of concepts invented by humans to describe aspects that apply to reality, something like a idea or statement being true or false. But I don't think that touches on the criticism of his initial position, which I brought up previously, which because I know that the vast number of hours of research on the show that you did prior to coming on here didn't actually tend to include last episode, perchance. Sorry, I shouldn't shame you for that. I show up on lots of shows having done only a moderate amount of research. He was saying that you could demonstrate that the world is deterministic. And I'm paraphrasing here. So go ahead and email us again, because I'm probably going to get it wrong. Because you can make a statement now that is either true or false.
Okay.
You can make a statement now that is not determined, right? So-and-so will, I'm trying not to say so-and-so will win an election, right? Joe Bob will win the election for Emperor of the Universe in the year 2222, right? That isn't true or false right now because it hasn't happened, but it will be.
Right.
Either true or false in the future. And so because there is a determined value of that statement that I can make now that will occur in the future, you could demonstrate that the universe is deterministic.
That's an interesting point.
It is, but my criticism of it breaks down to that your statement is a proposition will either be true or false. Therefore, the actual answer to that question is already determined. Does not equate to determinism, right? Because determinism would be, it is determined that Joe Bob will win. This is true, no matter what, right? Like would be a deterministic universe.
Well, wouldn't that be the difference between like hard determinism and soft determinism? So like, I think less that the argument that Chuck,
Chuck.
Hi, Chuck. That Chuck is making is not necessarily, I would not make this argument for hard determinism. I would make it as an example against the idea of libertarian free will, because that does wreck that concept. So libertarian free will, to my understanding, and I've only taken about 2 or 3 courses on philosophy, so I could be getting
Don't worry,
this very wrong.
I'll correct you if you're wrong.
Okay, good. I hope Little Lady is included in that criticism. Okay.
Shamed.
That cringe. That's gorgeous. So a libertarian free will is the idea that you can do anything you want at any time, and everything is a possibility. There are no constraints on you, in either by a higher power or by your own biology or by future or past events. It's all just basically open world, I guess.
Kind of. Your decision making is unbound.
Right, exactly. And that is what a lot of people think of when they think of free will. There are varying degrees of free will. There's the free will that we have the ability to be consciously aware of our decisions, but those decisions are impacted by environment, by our biology, by past events. And that's where I think the Sam Harris, Dan Dennett argument is fascinating.
Yeah, neurologically,
Right.
we can see that your decision happens in your brain before you recognize that it's happening.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So for me, I think that argument works against the idea that absolutely anything is possible at all times. Because the argument there is that, well, no, it's one of two options. And if you are limited in your options, yes or no, true or false, you by definition do not have unlimited options. So you cannot be a proponent of libertarian free will. But I would not say that by itself was an argument for any kind of hard determinism.
Seems like if your idea was that there is no multiverse, there is only this universe and a parallel universe, and we've only got the two, so it has to be yes or no. Then this would be, I would say yes, proof of hard determinism, in that we only have one of two options, because we only have one of two universes.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I hadn't considered this question in the context of multiple universes at all. Although I will say to your point about there being only either yes or no, I was mostly referring to that in the logical no,
fill the dead space.
The logical absolute either a proposition is true or it's not,
right,
in terms of yes or no. Okay. So I mean that would place us the constraint on free will of what is logically possible.
Right. So I think replacing maybe yes, true or false with A and B. To say that either A or B will happen is still deterministic for somebody who believes that you can choose C or D. You can't. It's only A or B. Like, those are your two choices. It will happen or it won't. And it can't do both at the same time, which I think is what he was talking about in this updated one.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, here, let me reread the updated one then.
Maybe I was misunderstanding that.
Yeah, he is not, Chuck is not necessarily elaborating whether or not he's talking about hard determinism versus soft determinism, which kudos for you elaborating on that. I think this is more soft determinism.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But again, maybe we're misinterpreting what Chuck is trying to say, and absolutely feel free to elaborate further in your next email if you.
Okay, so actually, so now you definitely have to email us back, or I don't know, or doom on you, because the last paragraph, of course, propositional logic is a human-invented concept. Its rules aren't binding on reality. And then I elaborated, well, yes, of course, its rules attempt to describe reality. But the point that he was making with that, its rules aren't binding on reality. An indeterminate future might be something it can't handle. In the same way, I look at that in the same way that Newtonian physics can't handle like subatomic particles and quantum physics, because it's these rules work and they describe reality. These rules work and they describe reality until we get to this part of reality.
Right, right.
So it's possible that propositional logic breaks down in a future with an indeterministic future. And now you have to email so that Kevin knows I'm right. So.
But also, I think my question then would be, okay, so how do we know? Because if the argument is, we know this works for now, but it could very well not work if we come up against the idea of an indeterminate future, then okay, but we haven't come across that yet. Well, so up until this point, we're still stuck at A and B.
Well, I think the point that he's making is that we have propositional logic, and it appears to demonstrate, to describe aspects of whether something is true or false well, and if that is applied to truth values in future, it implies a deterministic universe. So the assumption that he's acknowledging is that, okay, well, if propositional logic accurately describes reality, then deterministic future, which I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with, but that's not the part of this debate that we addressed on this episode. So
yeah, absolutely. Chuck, please email Beck and let us know if you agree, if you think we're off base, and anybody else who has any kind of philosophical question of any kind, please email us. I would love to talk about it.
Yeah.
And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Jamie, you want to take us out with a totally not at all on the spot prepared
Oh, no, this
outro?
will be incredibly prepared, which is why right now I'm not indicating to our staff that my doing that will be the end of my outro at all. So, and with that, we have been the Non-Prophets. Jamie Boone, I almost said Dennis Lubay. Okay. Jamie Boone, not Dennis Lubay. Kevin Stein, who is also not Dennis Lubay. And Vila Bianca, who is, as well, not Dennis Lubay. We are here without Dennis Lubay, telling you to go and be good without God. Later. Where's our outro music? Oh my God.
Yeah, can they hear us right now?
I don't know.
Guys, can you hear?
Oh, they cut the mics now.